Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, coaches, officials, board members, and last but not least, our highly talented athletes. I welcome you all to the Athletics Ontario 2021 Awards Gala. I'm Paul Lawson, the CEO of Athletics Ontario. It gives me great pleasure to open this awards gala, which will be hosted over 2 evenings. This event truly showcases the incredible commitment and dedication towards excellence that all award winners have put into the sport of athletics this past challenging years. The almost 2 years of dealing with the pandemic has shown that this community really is amazing at persevering through all obstacles and delivering exceptional performances against all odds. In my 45 years of participating in athletics, I don't think I've ever seen a more challenging environment that our community has had to navigate through. Without further delay, I would like to introduce Athletics Ontario President and Board Chair, Dean Husbrick, to kick things off with a review of 2021. Dean.
Thanks, Paul, and good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this exciting and very important evening of recognition. It's unfortunate that we can't meet in person, but I'm thrilled that we're still able to come together to celebrate our sport and its many amazing participants. Although we remain in the throes of the pandemic with its grip around our daily lives, 2021 brought a more normal return to the track, field, and roads. It was a year filled with training, local, provincial, national, and Olympic competitions, and a renewed feeling that we're starting to get our lives back. After months of severe lockdowns, the feeling of being back has been truly exhilarating to see and experience, although there are clearly more challenges ahead. Through collaboration, focus, and dedication, we were as busy as pre-pandemic years. Busier, in fact, with the added responsibilities of the pandemic. And we accomplished a great deal on the path toward a healthier and more stable future. And I would like to highlight a few important achievements. To expand our communication and education components and to keep members engaged, AO hosted a total of 29 town hall meetings between April and November of this year, including 2 for race directors. To help strengthen our grassroots as the key to future growth of athletics, we continued our virtual AO after-school athletics programs with multiple classes per week in the spring and summer. With limited competitions, we supported our athletes by offering a road virtual time trial series with 136 registrants and 3 sponsors, WealthSense, Runner's Edge, and the Runner Shop, allowing us to offer over $1,300 in prize money to AO member participants. The pandemic has been very challenging for our clubs too, so to help, AO provided over $70,000 in grants to AO clubs, race organizations, and meet directors. Although the Ontario Summer Games were delayed again until 2022, international athletics took the spotlight this year after a year off, and AO was very well represented at the Tokyo Olympic and Paralympic Games, as well as the World U20 Championships in Nairobi. To support our elite athletes, we hosted 401 athletes at outdoor high performance meets in Ottawa, Windsor, Guelph, and Toronto. There were also 77 track meets held this year between April and October, with over 2,000 performances recorded and 89 new records set, including 7 Masters records and 31 Canadian records. And while many sports suffered declining memberships, amazingly, AO experienced a 23% increase in total membership for 2020, primarily attributed to an increase in the recreational category with 100% growth over last year. But largely due to the negative impact of the pandemic on competitions and the limited ability for some clubs to secure adequate training venues, our competitive category logged a slight decrease compared to the previous year. Athlete, coach, and official support and development was also a big focus in the return to the track and the field. In 2021, we introduced our 0.1 sessions, a new initiative to enhance educational opportunities for our high-performance athletes and coaches. These monthly online sessions were hosted by successful athletes and support staff from around the world. In 2020, AO reached an all-time record of 567 registered coaches, with only a slight decline to 562 this year, which is amazing considering the number of lockdowns. To date, AO has delivered 5 foundations of coaching sessions, with 42 coaches completing the course since April. We also had 2 run, jump, throw, wheel courses this year, with 24 coaches attending. And for officials, AO offered a virtual introductory clinic for new officials built on 3 courses. We also went back to the country with a wonderful cross-country season, including the provincial championships in Kingston with almost 1,000 entries. And the national cross-country championship in Ottawa had similar numbers. Overall, we had almost 2,500 participants in our non-championship Rising Star Festivals meets and almost 1,600 participants in our 8 additional sanctioned competitions. Furthermore, AO was thrilled to host 3 incredible summits: a virtual race director summit in April with 62 participants, a 3-day para summit in October that hosted athletes, coaches, officials, and future participants, and a 4-evening coaches summit in November hosted by high caliber speakers. In summary, despite the effects of the pandemic, our staff and members from across the province have all collaborated exceptionally well and worked so hard, resulting in a membership growth of approximately 2,000, or 33% over the past 2 years. And the incredible performance by our Olympians and Paralympians in Tokyo were truly inspirational and made us all proud. All of this has positioned Athletics Ontario very well to start 2022 on a strong footing with momentum to continue to grow our sport across the province. Now, we'd like to share with you a video of highlights of this remarkable year.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of felt weird racing again since it has been about a year since we've done anything like this.
It's cool to have a competition because for the last little while we've just been training and with nothing in sight, so it was cool to come down here and see other multi-eventers and be in some sort of competitive atmosphere, and hopefully this is the path forward from now on.
Skill, 15% confidence. salary, it's all about reality and making some noise, making a story, making sure his click stays up. That means when he puts it down, time's making it up.
Who the hell is he anyway? He never really talks much, never concerned with status, but still even the starstruck. Humble through opportunities, given despite the fact that many misjudge.
You're right. It's a good start for Thorne. He's first to the first hurdle. Getting a bit of a challenge there from Jovan midway through the race. But Thorne's superior hurdling technique has taken him well clear of the rest of the field.
80% skill, 80% fear, be 100% clear, cause Ryu was ill. Who would have thought he'd be the one that set the West in flames? And I heard him wreck it with the crystal method, name of the game. Came back, dropped Megadeth, took him to church. I like Bleach, man. Ryu had the stupidest verse, let's do this in truth. Now everybody giving them guest spots and stocks through the roof. I heard him from my desktop.
10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power, 5% pleasure, 50% pain, 100% reason to remember the name.
They call him Ryu, he's sick and he's spitting fire and Mike got him out the dryer. He's act like a minor with a nihilist porcupine. He's a type women wanna be with, and rappers hope he gets 8 years in the making, patiently waiting to blow. Now the record with your notice taking over the globe. He's got a partner in crime, his is equally dope. You won't believe the kind of that comes out of this kid's throat. He's not
And we're away with a good start. It is Roxborough on the inside, going really well. And it is Siobhan Roxborough kind of running away.
He's living proof, through the rack in the booth. He'll get you buzzing quicker than a shot of vodka with juice. Him and his crew and all around is one of the best. Dedicated to what they do and give 100%.
Get like, nobody really knows how or why he works so hard. It seems like he's never got time because he writes every note, he writes every line, and I've seen him at work, but not like goes on in his mind. It's like a design is written in his head every time before he even touches a key or speaks in a rhyme. And those other fellas he runs with, the kids that he signed, ridiculous, without even trying. How do they do it? It's 10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure, 50% pain, 100% reason to remember the name. This is 10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure, 50% pain, 100% reason to remember the name. Fort Minor, M. Shinoda, styles of beyond. Ryu, top beer,
Want to first of all wish everybody a happy and wonderful 2021.
What a remarkable year it has been indeed. Before we proceed, I just want to remind everyone that on our website, you can go on and purchase raffle tickets. We have an exceptional package of merchandise from Athletics Ontario available that we're going to raffle later this evening. I think there's about 25 minutes left for you to buy tickets. They're only $5 each or 3 for $10. So please take the opportunity to go on the website and put your name in the hat before we draw the raffle. So now it is time to hand things over to our MC for the evening. She is a Tokyo Olympian and a Commonwealth Games and NACAC medalist. She is the current Athletics Canada Female Athlete Director and the host of the Shakeout podcast, which you should all check out. We are truly fortunate to have her with us tonight, and it is my pleasure and honor to introduce Kate Van Busker.
Hey, thanks so much, Dean. That's a lovely introduction. And I don't know about all of you, but I am so pumped after watching that video between the music and the images and the interviews that were done. Just a super exciting way to kick off the night. I am so thrilled to be here with you all this evening to act as your MC for the 2021 Athletics Ontario Virtual Awards Gala. And I won't go on and on about this, but I will reiterate what Dean just said in that it's been a really challenging year, but also an incredibly rewarding one. You know, as an active athlete myself, it fills me with so much joy and pride that we held in-person community events and championships, and even a little thing called the Olympic Games and Paralympic Games. And it gives me so much hope that we've learned a ton through all of our different facets of our organization that will lead us into next year and whatever the future brings. And although we can't be in person tonight, it's really lovely knowing that so many of you are watching from home, but we really want this to be an interactive event. So we encourage you to use all the things you've learned this year in Zoom, the chat function to contribute, as well as the Q&A function. And just to separate those two, if you do have questions for any of our speakers or our recognized guests tonight, you can feel free to drop those into the Q&A function and we'll answer them throughout the evening. But right now, just to get things started in this interactive space, we'd like to ask you all to use that chat function to let us know who you are, who's joining us, throw your name in there, where you're joining from, whether it's your hometown or maybe you're joining with a friend. We're putting a little call out who's joining us from the furthest reaches of Ontario, and how many of you are maybe sharing a Zoom screen tonight if you've turned this into a viewing party at all. So we hope that many of you will drop all of that into the chat function and you can start interacting with each other. So we're going to move now to our 2021 Athletics Ontario Hall of Fame inductions. But just before we do that, we do want to mention that we, of course, had an entire class, the 2020 Athletics Ontario Hall of Fame inductees who were inducted earlier this spring. We weren't able to recognize them in person, but we do want to just mention that they were a really important contribution. And here's a screen for you to sort of get a view of who these were: Jessica Zelinka, Kyle Petty, Al Sokol, Jim Griffin, and Ron Wallingford. Congratulations to our 2020 Hall of Fame inductees. And there will be a video link dropped into the chat function so that you can see a video from their induction from last year. But now we're going to move on to the 2021 Athletics Ontario Hall of Fame inductees. And I'm going to introduce the person who will be speaking to this and doing the inductions, Sue Wise. So Sue was a national team athlete from 1973 to 1983 in the pentathlon and the heptathlon. She represented Canada in these events at the Commonwealth Games and the FISU Games. She went on to serve as the head track and field coach for McMaster University from 1979 to 1985 and at York University from 1986 to 1999. She then moved on to serve as the Athletics Ontario High Performance Manager from 2009 to 2016. She has been inducted into the Halls of Fame at York University, McMaster University, and the University of Saskatchewan, and she has been a member of the Athletics Ontario Hall of Fame Committee since its inception. I'm very pleased and proud to welcome Sue Wise.
Can everyone hear me? Can you hear me? Yes. Thank you very much, Kate, for that introduction. I have to tell you how excited I was to see you competing at the Olympics. I was there actually at the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow in 2016, and when you won the medal in that exciting race. And so to see you back competing was really heartwarming for me to watch you. Yes, I've been a member for with the Hall of Fame for a number of years. Just a bit of history on the Hall of Fame. The Athletics Ontario Hall of Fame was launched in 2009. So over the last 12 years, we've had to make up ground by inducting fairly large groups of athletes, coaches, and builders. Now that we've more or less historically caught up, the numbers of inductees have dropped. So we're down to 2, 3, or 4 athletes per year. These individuals are people that have been nominated either through the athletics community, outside groups, or within the Hall of Fame committee ourselves. So we like people to be nominated, to send people if they believe they are deserving from your community to fill out the forms and send them to the Hall of Fame committee. The nominees are kept on the list for several years and are considered on an ongoing basis. And so it's not just 1 year, they stay on the list for some time. Anyway, to go forward now with our inductees we're going to start off with the 2021 inductee, Ken Hall. We saw a picture of Ken Hall earlier. Ken Hall has been an instrumental force in the para community for many years. His initiatives have had a lasting impact in the areas of accessibility, high performance, and equality for para-athletes. In 1997, while working with Cruiser Sports, Ken Hall became a para-athletics coach. Hall has coached numerous outstanding athletes, including Kyle Petty, world record holder, and Paralympian Renee Fosso. Ken has been an instrumental coach for officials and coach education for para throws. He's a co-author of the BC Wheelchair Sports Association Coaching Manual that is now utilized in the NCCP Coach Throws for Sport Coach. Ken has also overseen seated throws competitions at the Canadian Senior National Championships. Ken has been recognized for many awards, including the 2008 Ron Foster Award, the 2010 OCPSA Coach of the Year, 2011 Ontario Coaching Excellence Award, 2012 Queen Elizabeth 11 Diamond Jubilee Medal, 2015 Canadian Sport Tourism Alliance Prestige Award. Throughout Ken's time in athletics, he has proved to be a tremendous role model and coach to a plethora of para-athletes. His work has not only created better opportunities for the para-athletes he coached, but also opened the door to improve accessibility throughout para-sports for future athletes. We are thrilled to have Ken as a part of our Athletics Ontario coaching team, but unfortunately, he is not able to be here. He's probably coaching, if I know Ken, and he has actually forwarded a little note that I'll read for you. I would like to thank Athletics Ontario for the honor of being named a 2021 inductee to the AO Hall of Fame. I've been fortunate enough to be involved in the para-sport community for close to 25 years, and to receive this recognition from AO is truly an honor. Thank you to all the leaders in the athletics community who support and advocate for the para-athletics community, and congratulations to my fellow 2021 inductees. Thank you. Moving on, we have Roman Olszewski. We'll pull up his picture somewhere. There we are. Roman, most of you may know Roman, or if you didn't know his name, you knew him at the track. Roman Olszewski had a great impact in athletics as an official, administrator, and coach. He managed Athletics Ontario's technical operations for 36 years, starting in 1979, where he was a technical work coordinator for the OTFA, now Athletics Ontario. He later became the editor for the Technical Bulletin. Olszewski was a columnist for the Athletics magazine from 1979. And in 1980, he began writing Technically Speaking in the Athletics magazine. From 1994 to 2014, Roman wrote articles and compiled statistics for Athletics magazine's Canadian all-time lists. That's before computers, and it was a very onerous job. Roman also has been the provincial technical representative at Canada Games in 1981 in Thunder Bay, as well as 2001 in London. He was also a technical official for over 350 provincial championships. Olszewski had the opportunity to be the race walking manager at the 1983 World Cup in Norway, as well as being the technical and equipment manager for the 1993 World Indoor Games at the Toronto Sky Dome. In 2015, Roman retired from Athletics Ontario after a great many contributions. Please join us in congratulating Roman on his incredible accomplishments and welcome him to the Athletics Ontario Hall of Fame. Again, unfortunately, Roman was unable to connect with us tonight, so I do have an acceptance note from him as well. Hello, everyone. It's been a while since I last saw you. Thank you for the induction into the Hall of Fame. The trophy arrived this past week and will be proudly displayed. Like all sports, all associations, like Athletics Ontario, have made large adjustments to be functional and imaginative. 2022, with it, brings the Canada Summer Games, which will take place at Brock University this summer. A brand new stadium awaits. I hope to see many of you as I live only a short distance away. Until then, I wish you a happy and successful year ahead. Thirdly, our next inductee is Louise Walker. Louise was an accomplished high jumper who competed for the University of Toronto Varsity Blues in indoor and outdoor track and field from 1970 to 1977. Walker was a national high jump champion in 1973 and 1975. She also set an intercollegiate record of 1.87 meters, ranking her 5th in the world. She represented Canada at 4 major international games, the 1972 and 1976 Olympics, the 1984 Commonwealth Games, where she won a silver medal, and the 1975 Pan Am Games, where she also won the silver medal. Unfortunately, Louise is not able to be part of this Zoom call. She had something else already booked, so she will hopefully receive this at the next Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Lastly, we have Victor Picard. Victor or Vic Picard, was a Canadian Olympic athlete born in Hamilton, Ontario in 1907. He competed in the 1924 and 1928 Summer Olympic Games. In the 1924 Games, he finished 5th in the pole vault, clearing a height of 3.80 meters. And in 2028, he jumped 395 for 4th place in the event. In 1930, in his hometown of Hamilton, Picard earned the gold medal at the British Empire Games with a height of 3.73. Picard won the Canadian Championships in 1923, 26, 28, 29, and 1930. He has been inducted into the Canadian Olympic Hall of Fame in 1974. Picard held the Canadian and British Empire record after clearing a height of 3.81. A highlight of his successes occurred in 1929, when with a jump of 4.15, he was ranked 2nd in the world. Though Victor Picard is no longer with us, we are honored to have his grandson, Victor Picard, here to accept his award on his grandfather's behalf. He would like to say a few words. Welcome.
Good evening. Sorry, I was muted. Good evening, everyone. I want to thank you all. It's such a great honor for me to accept this award on my grandfather's behalf. Several of his descendants are in the audience tonight, including his granddaughter, Lilia, and grandson, Zayden. I believe also, I should say great-granddaughter, Lilia, great-grandson, Zayden. I think there's a Willow and Ryan in the audience as well. We're tremendously proud of his legacy and of our Canadian heritage. I grew up always hearing stories about my grandfather's pole vaulting exploits. And one very quick anecdote I'd like to share is that according to family lore, my grandfather's father, who was a mill worker in Hamilton, Ontario, was also apparently a pool shark. And in his spare time, he'd go out and raise money from his pool winnings to fund my grandfather's travels to competitions all across Canada. And my mother recently gave me a box of old medals from all of his contests, including one from the 1930 British Empire Games, which were held in his hometown of Hamilton, Ontario. And he won the gold medal there in pole vaulting, which must have been so exhilarating. So I just want to thank you all again. We're so deeply honored. Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us. It's made it special for, I think, everybody having someone to represent him. Thank you very much. I guess as we move on, I will head back to Kate, and you can continue on. Thank you for everyone.
Thanks so much, Sue, and thank you to Victor and to the whole Picard family for being here with us. It's really special to have folks recognized both in person and not. So thank you again to everyone for that beautiful piece. So we now move on. We actually, for those who don't know, have a separate Masters Hall of Fame. And we're going to move on to that in a second. But just before we do, I want to put out one more call because we have the raffle window open for another 25 minutes. We're closing it at 8 p.m. So you can continue to purchase tickets for that raffle up until 8 p.m. Again, you don't want to miss out on that swag bag. There's actually, I'm not sure if I should be saying this, but there's not a ton of people who have bought raffle tickets. So right now, if you buy one, your chances of winning are pretty darn good. So head over to the website and purchase a ticket if you haven't yet. And that's just been popped into the chat by Kenneth as well. Thanks, Kenneth. So as I mentioned, we have a separate Masters Hall of Fame, and we're going to move on to that now. So I would like to introduce Doug Smith, the chair of the Athletics Ontario Masters Council, to present our 2021 Athletics Ontario Masters Hall of Fame inductee.
Thanks very much, Kate, and good evening, everyone. A wonderful ceremony so far. It's my distinct pleasure as the chair of the Masters Council to induct my friend Norm Crean into the Ontario Masters Hall of Fame. Norm started his career with the Masters as a sprinter. He was a very fine sprinter. I can recall him running some very fine 200s around the track at the Toronto Track and Field Center. After a few years, injury hampered his performances, so he immediately switched to volunteering to be our starter's assistant at many Masters meets, and I have announced a million times, men and women in the 1500 meters, please see Norm with the clipboard at the start line. And Norm did a great job. The main reason he has been inducted into the Hall of Fame was he has served for 15 years as the Ontario Masters treasurer. Not a very exciting job, but one of the most important jobs, of course. And he is still the treasurer of the Masters Council. He was instrumental last spring of 2020, instrumental in our change from the Ontario Masters Athletics Association to the Athletics Ontario Masters Council. And that involved quite a bit of financial dealings, and Norm took care of that perfectly. So I have his, he's got his award there, you can see in the picture. I have his pin, which I'll present to him the first time I see him. And I'll present to you Mr. Norm Crean, new member of the Ontario Masters Hall of Fame.
Well, thanks, Doug. Thanks, everyone. Being named to the Ontario Masters Athletics Hall of Fame really took me by surprise, to the point where I had to ask Doug whether some dreadful mistake had been made. But being selected by my peers is a real honor. I deeply appreciate it. Many, many thanks to the Masters Council for the award. I discovered running when I was in high school. Like a lot of others, hopefully a lot of people who are listening this evening, but also like a bunch of others, I didn't do much running after university until I discovered Masters track and rediscovered my love of track running. Connecting with a number of athletes I had known as a teenager, Ray Tucker, Rona Trott, Carla Del Grande, among others, was really wonderful. It has been very rewarding to be able to contribute to Masters Athletics, other than as an athlete, as Doug mentioned. I quite enjoyed meeting all the athletes on the track as starter's assistant. I always knew who had entered, but I never got to see their results because I was always trying to get the next race on the track. When I started as OMA treasurer, I have to say, back in 2006, our financial situation was poor, and that's probably an optimistic assessment of the situation. But with Doug's work on revising the organizational structure, we made great progress forward. And that certainly made my job a whole lot easier. And just as a final word, I'd encourage all of the athletes listening to keep on in the sport. Athletics really can be the sport for a lifetime. And I would also encourage all of you to think about ways you can use your own background to help contribute back, and ways that you can use your expertise, your skills to help build the sport into the future. So let me just repeat how honored and humbled I am to be included in the OMA Hall of Fame. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to Norm and to Doug, and congratulations again to all the recipients of our special recognition awards this evening. Some incredible names on there, and for the younger athletes in the audience, again, we all have this thing called Google. I highly suggest that you go out and learn more about these folks, and those who are still active out on the track. When you see them, go introduce yourself, say hi, get to know them. They're wealths of knowledge. We're now going to move on to something that we're really excited to be bringing back this year, and that's our All-Ontarian program. We want to recognize the top athletes in both each age category and event discipline. And we announced these names just a few weeks ago. You can find that full list online. We are so honored to have so many of you in attendance with us tonight. And maybe if you are in attendance, again, using that chat function, when you hear your name called, give yourselves a little kind of hands up, give yourselves a shout out, say I'm here. If there's a family member watching, do the same. We'd love to know who's in attendance tonight. So we've got a lot to get through. We'll get through the names fairly quickly here, but we're going to be starting with our sprints and hurdles. So in the U14, we have Samuel Amari, Miles Clinton, Shannon Dewar, Victoria Ford, Emily Gervais, Alexia Jones, Seth Leming, Cameron Larkin, Nola Ma, Zoe Mitzi, Savannah Reed, and Victoria Zolanturek. In U16, we have Janae Dawes, Brianna Gaynor, Jaleel Haley, Nation Hall, Asia Phillips, Trinity Shadseries, and Kyra Webb. U18, Amelia Van Brabant, Benjamin Brewer, James Crawford, Desmond Fraser, Rihanna Green, Emily Martin, Christopher Morales, Peace Omanzane, Haley Reed, Rain Rodriguez, and Armin Shahzadeh. U20 is Alexander Collins, Isabella Gudros, Michael Roth, and Almond Small. In our open category, Miriam Abdul Rashid, Eliza Ajibi, Alade Ajamale, Kelsey Belkwill, Kamika Bingham, Bismarck Boateng, Aaron Brown, Alicia Brown, Kyra Constantine, Andre DeGrasse, Crystal Emanuel, Lauren Gale, Natasha McDonald, Noel Montcalm, Philip Osei, Madeline Price, Brendan Rodney, Siobhan Roxborough, Gavin Smelly, Craig Thorne, and Mariah Williams. In our para category, Bianca Borgella, Isaiah Kristoff, Zachary Gingras, Austin Ingram, Owen Conkle, Eric Kushman, Jessica Lewis, Marissa Papakonstantinou, George Corco, Nandini Sharma, and Austin Smeek. And finally, in our masters category, Carla Del Grande, Christy Ihanegabo, Serge Fauché, Ward Hazen, Lenroy Henry, and Renata Matrzinska. Congratulations to all our All-Ontarians in our sprints and hurdles category. Moving on now to our distance. In our U14, we have Cameron Anderson, Caleb Dingman, Alexandra Jackson, Logan Klomps, Ayla Lang, Rayanne Link, Braden McNevin, Abigail Martin, and Kira Snelling. In U16, Cameron Bennett, Emily Suskin, Travis Gaffney, McKenna Gibb, Jacob Paul, Gabriella Ruggieri, and Abigail Sadler. U18, Noah Booth, Adriano Padwin Castillo, Aidan Coles, Cole Kupel, Olivia Dodds, Micaiah Ellis, Riley Flemington, Gabby Jones, Ryder King, Louise Stoneman, and Acadia Tremaine. U20, Abdullahi Hassan, Kaylee Nelson, Zachary McPhee, and Abby Uhaz. In our open category, we have Mo Ahmed, Melissa Bishop Nriagu, Cleo Boyd, Andrew Davies, Gabriella Debuse Stafford, Matt Hughes, Maddie Kelly, Justin Knight, Brandon McBride, Rowan Nobotsing, Nicholas Pedersen, Marcel Scheel, Andrea Sakafian, Julianne Staley, Lucia Stafford, Ashley Taylor, and Kate Van Buskirk. And in our masters category, Jay Brecher, Chris Dean, Stu Galloway, Sasha Golish, Liz Shad, Elizabeth Waywell, and Jianping Zhu. Congratulations to all of our distance athletes. Moving on to our jumps. In our U14, Ovia Suresh, U16 is Liam Miller, Shade Thompson, and William Wilson. U18, Daniela Beckett, Arian Birch, and Stephen Davis. U20, Heather Abadi, Emma Dale, Isabel Hill, Emily O'Mahan, Kenneth West, and Bennett Woods. Our open athletes, Olorufemi Akinduro, Erica Fiedler, Daniel Gleason, Django Levitt, Alicia Newman, Bryson Patterson, and Bruce Simpson. And on to our masters, Marissa Cadianhead, Kyra Lukes, Yodanis Garcia, Bruce Simpson, and Peter Zaukovich. Moving on to our throws, our All-Ontarians in the U14, Kurthiga Gumarathas, Emma Negri, and Jenna Tunks. U16, Thomas Dalman, Benjamin Shafransky, and Julia Tunks. U18, Jesse Buck, Nathan Casanova, Matthew Ing, Andre Mollet, Alex Segris, and Oscar Zhu. U20, Benionoso Ezukuza, Blake Foster, Spencer Lewis, Josh Linnington, Billy Martin, Michaela Roy, and Callan Salduto. In open, we have Caitlin Brooks, Mark Buznowski, Brittany Crew, Bailey Dell, Evan Karakolis, Sarah Mitten, Tim Nadeau, Jarrah Skeeth, Jason Tunks, Trinity Tuti, and Jillian Weir. In para, there's Charlotte Bolton, Renee Fossell, Tiffany Gaudet, and Anthony McMillan. And masters, Kristen Daja, Joanne Den Eisinger, Mike Ransky, Ruth Rezai, Jason Tunks, and Boris Zatchuk. And I just have to say, I think there were 4 Tunks on that throws list. So congratulations to all of our winners, but especially the Tunks. And finally, our last category are combined events. In U14, Biranavan Balaramana, Evan Blake, Noah Dyke, Kaija Slowly, Lucy Young, and Phoenix Young Lazo. U16, Sayanathan Arul Raja, Hasvina Arul Rajan, Carson Gautier, Caitlin Thompson, and Ava Young. U18, we have Danny Allen and Arwin Mati. U20, Nicole Beach, Taya D'Souza, Jenna James, Owen McDonald, and Abby Weening. Open, Delissa Huggins, Banuja Kalathiran, Pierce Lepage, Telvin Tavernier, Damian Warner, and Jessica Zezo. And finally, in our Masters category, we have Bruce Birch. So congratulations to all of our All-Ontarians in all of those event categories. If I mispronounced your name, I'm really sorry. Please hit me up later and tell me how to pronounce it, because inevitably I'll have one of you on my podcast eventually, and I want to know how to say it correctly. But congratulations again to all of our award winners. And we just want to throw an ask out that all of you will be sent certificates. So if you could please print out your certificates and take a picture of yourself with it and post it on social media, tag Athletics Ontario, and use the hashtag AO All Ontario 2021. And maybe Kenneth can pop that hashtag in the chat so that we can start sharing all of our award winners as well online. So we'll be moving on now to another special presentation, which is the Official of the Year presentation. And we're very proud and honored to be awarding this to Brian Keaveney. On Saturday, August 14th, at the Ontario Masters Athletics Championship meet, Brian was presented with his 50-year award, for officiating in track and field in Ontario. The presentation was done on the track at the Toronto Track and Field Centre, surrounded by officials working the OMA meet. Many of the officials in attendance have known Brian in his many roles, from high school teacher, coach, fellow runner, and now an official at most of the meets in the GTA. Brian's also been very active in Masters athletics provincially, nationally, and internationally. He was a member of the Ontario Masters Athletics Board of Directors for 23 years, from 1984 to 2007, beginning at the urging of his first president, Ross Cruikshank, who had noticed Brian's enthusiasm and experience in track and field as a starter and a coach for high school track and cross country. He then served as president for the OMA in 1987 and 88, 1996, and 97. He was the meet director of the OMA Indoor Championships for 23 years. He's been a member of the Canadian Masters Athletics since 1985, serving as president from 2005 to 2009, vice president, Stadia, and as the team manager for many Canadian Masters teams at World Masters Athletics meets since 1991 in Turku, Finland. As an athlete, he had personal bests of 3:15 in the marathon and 40 minutes in the 10K. As an internationally qualified race walk judge, he's been the chief walks judge at many WMA and NCC WMA championships, and AO and AC race walk events. Brian is a provincial technical manager and can be found in the garage at the TTFC. He has other technical skills that include road course measurement, field surveying, and serving as the starter for track events. There's no job at a track meet that is too small for Brian to do, whether measuring pits, setting up hurdles, organizing officials, or cleaning up afterwards. He is often the first to arrive and the last to pack up and head home when the meet is done. His technical and organizing expertise in athletics also has led him beyond our borders to roles including the president of the NACAC at WMA, vice president non-stadia for the WMA, and now the vice president of competition for World Masters Athletics, which includes track and field, road running, race walking, marathons, ultra marathons, and mountain running. Brian is the NCCMA record coordinator for North America. He has provided the review and approval of both stadia and non-stadia facilities for many international indoor and outdoor championship venues. He was the technical advisor for major refurbishment of both the indoor and outdoor facilities at the TTFC at York. If he's in charge of a meet, one can be confident that the highest standards of the meet management and officiating will be met. Brian was inducted into the OMA Hall of Fame in 2010. He's also been involved in many activities outside of athletics. He's a member of the Friends of Sam Smith Park in Etobicoke, trail captain for the Bruce Trail Conservatory in the Peninsula section, involved with the Canadian Air and Space Museum, and an active social member of the Lakeshore Yacht Club. As the saying goes, ask a busy person to help and the task will get done. Huge congratulations going out to Brian Keaveney. And I believe that Brian is here online to say a few words. Can we introduce Brian? There he is. I'll pass it over to you, Brian.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be chosen as the AO Official of the Year. I thank those who considered me worthy of the award. It was a very difficult year for athletes and officials. I had the very rare opportunity to officiate for the Olympic hopefuls through the indoor season and continue officiating through the rest of the year at every championship and meet that I could get my hands on, including the cross country provincially and nationally. I'm now the chair of the Athletics Ontario officials. And one word I'd like to say to the rest of our officials who are online tonight: please renew your membership. We need you at our indoor and outdoor events. I hope that 2022 gives greater opportunity to all of our athletes and officials. Thank you and stay well.
Thanks so much for that, Brian, and congratulations again. We're so thrilled to have you with us this evening. So I want to just throw out one last time. It is 7:55 on my screen, which means that our raffle tickets are on sale for 5 more minutes. So make sure that you head over to our website and pick one up if you haven't yet done so. But now we move into the entire evening has been very exciting, but another exciting component of our night, which is that we have an incredibly special guest speaker with us. Mr. Mo Ahmed is, in my opinion, the Canadian king of distance track running. He is a 3-time Olympian, a 2-time Commonwealth Games medalist, a Pan Am champion, and this summer, in a thrilling event in taking silver in the 5,000 meter at the Tokyo Olympic Games, he became the first Canadian to win medals in that event at both the World Championships and Olympics. He holds multiple indoor and outdoor Canadian and area records, and I've got to say, he's one of the best ambassadors for our sport that I know. Just before I bring him on, I'm going to suggest that our Q&A section is open on our Q&A function is open rather on our Zoom. So please leave any questions for Mr. Mo Ahmed in that function, and we'll leave some time at the end of his presentation to address those. But without further ado, it is my true honor to introduce my friend, Mo Ahmed.
Hello guys, good to be with you guys. Thanks for having me. Can you guys hear me good? Pretty well? Okay, awesome. Yeah, I'm happy to be with you guys. You know, as a youngster from Ontario, as I don't know how many youngsters are on this Zoom call, but like you guys, I started competing at a lot of the what was it, OTFAs back then, as it was known, and that's kind of how I developed as an athlete and everything like that. So my connection with Ontario Athletics is deep and long, and I'm glad to be with you guys tonight. And I think we want to do a little bit more of a formal, like I didn't really prepare anything formal, a speech or sort, because I really didn't know what we wanted to talk about. And I feel like more of a open to the floor scenario serves people better. So I would like that. And you just send your questions out there, and I'd be happy to answer a lot of your questions. So yeah.
Mo, maybe while we're giving people a chance to drop some of those in, I might just kick it off with a few here. First of all, I love the throwback. Anyone who's on the call who's I think of our age or older will remember the OTFA. So that's a good vintage throwback there. It used to be called OTFA instead of Athletics Ontario. But maybe we can start just by asking you how you got your start in running, and what some of your earliest memories from the then OTFA were that have really kind of shaped you and stuck with you.
Yeah, like how I started with track and field was probably watching the 2004 Olympics. That sort of whet my appetite for track and field, introduced me to the highest caliber event available for the sport. And I was just like truly inspired by the whole spectacle of the Olympics, that I sort of just kind of fell in love with track and field a little bit. And, every weekend, it used to be called the Golden League, and now it's called the Diamond League, the circuit, the professional circuit. So I just kind of would, on CBC every Saturday, I would tune in and watch, guys like Kevin Sullivan and, Perdita Felician and Angela White, and a lot of those Canadian legends and legends of the sport, Eliud Kipchoge, Bekele, and a lot of those guys. So that's kind of how I got introduced to the sport. But that was the fan in me, and then the athlete in me was sort of, because I was a fan, I wanted to kind of try. So middle school was kind of like my first introduction to track and field a little bit. I wasn't all that good, to be honest. I was kind of in the middle of the pack in my area, in the district board of Niagara. I think that was the highest competition you can qualify to in middle school. And I was somewhere in the middle, like, I would always make it to the final, but I wasn't one of the guys winning it, still had a lot of like growing to do and a lot to learn in the sport. And then honestly, like when I kind of started showing signs of talent was somewhere in high school. I grew up a little bit more stretched out, was a little bit taller, becoming a little bit more, I don't know, like growing up, adolescence, and yeah, like obviously Ontario Athletic OFSA is kind of the first events that you want to aspire to. And OFSA was sort of this, it's kind of like the Olympics, for us, for many of us. And he was like, you got to try and make it there. So had to do that. And once I went through that for the high school season, it was kind of, I was forced, not forced, but like I was pushed to join the Niagara Olympic Club, and had the opportunity to travel to a lot of the OTFA meets at York. Most of them were in York, and then some of the Legion meets I made that was a District B, I believe. And yeah, I remember like competing in Thunder Bay, Ottawa, Windsor, so a lot of like places in Ontario. So honestly, like track and field and being part of the Niagara Olympic Club was that first year that I was part of that summer. It was like the first chances and first memories of traveling outside of my city. So it was actually like very eye-opening and put things into perspective and made me motivated and want to kind of stick with the sport. And I don't know, from then on, it was just kind of, I had a great club and great coaches and great training partners. And at that point, it was just kind of like allowing my talent to shine with the work, and just kind of listening to my coaches, doing the work, showing up every single day. And early on in high school, I think I didn't really start winning OFSA or anything like that until like midway through high school. Grade 11 was my first OFSA title. And then shortly after that, a lot of like Canadian junior teams, and I was one of the top people. But it actually took a number of years in grade 9, all of grade 9, all of grade 10 to really develop and become somebody that that's a hopeful to be one of the talents for Canada. And yeah, so I'll stop there. And yeah.
That's great. And I think you started to answer a few of these questions. I know Andrew Coles asked, when did you realize you had the potential to run at such a high level? Sorry, I think that's Aiden Coles. Another Ian Anderson asked, what part of your success do you now feel races at the OFSA level provide? So I think you've kind of started to touch on a lot of those. If you have anything else to add there, you can, or we can move on to another one.
Yeah. So what was the first part of the question?
So when you first realized that you had the potential to run at such a high level, we have so many young athletes on this call and who have been recognized in all the event groups and all the age categories, who are looking to someone like yourself, a 3-time Olympian, and thinking, how can I get there? Or at least how can I keep the dream alive to work towards something like that? So when did that sort of solidify for you?
I think it was probably sometime in grade 10, like my, grade 9, like I actually didn't even qualify to OFSA cross country. And then I made it to OFSA track, right? So OFSA track was sort of my coming out party a little bit. And I think I finished like 8th, even though I probably was, top 4, top 5 in my age group. I just didn't have a great race there, but made it there. And that kind of brought the eyes of like a lot of the clubs in my area to be like, hey, like you should come out for the club and join this club, and there's something, you have something, but to be honest, like I didn't know what that I don't know, I didn't know that, right? Like I don't know what that meant. And I don't know, I think for me it was always just the love of just working. Like I loved working and putting effort out there and just playing. Like I just remember as a youngster, I would play every single minute that I wasn't, that I wasn't asleep. Like I would just be playing. And I had, I grew up with 3 brothers. So there's just so much testosterone in the house that like, just so many games and so much competition. So I was always playing. So it was just kind of that play temperament that I had that I took to track and field and really showed up to practice. So I just loved being out and practicing and everything like that. But to be honest, like my talent or any of that stuff, I really didn't know because I didn't know a whole lot about the sport. I didn't know what a split was. I didn't know, how long the track was, all the way around. Like so all those little, like that knowledge, like I still had to like learn. Right. And it was really through my coaches, the encouragement of my coaches that I stuck with it. And it's like, hey, like you have something like, and I would say, the biggest sign of their belief in me was culminated in grade 10. Grade 10, I first race out of the gates. I run in the outdoor season. I ran like 8:30. I ran like 8:36, right? For the 3,000 meters as a grade 10. And that year there was a world youth team, and I think it was in Ostrava, and the standard was like 8:31, something like that. And my coach came up to me and said, hey, like, I really think you can make the standard, and I really think like it'd be a really nice opportunity to represent Canada. So the fact that like, I don't know, for me, it was like OFSA was like the Olympics, you know? So my whole eyes was on here. And then all of a sudden he kind of shifted it and said, hey, there's bigger things out there. So really the belief showed at that time. And I don't know, like I started kind of thinking a little bit bigger. That year, I think I ran, I was second at OFSA in the 3,000 meters. And I think I ran like 8:36, like 5 to 6 times. And I did not make the standard and I did not make that team. But the fact that like I was trying to make this team and, you know, I was thinking a little bit bigger, you know, more globally, that kind of said, hey, like, you know, maybe you have something, you know, you have something like you were like top 3, top 4 in Canada, all of Canada. Like that's, you know, and that's like 17 and 16-year-olds and, you know, 15-year-olds, all that. And so I don't know, it made me think a little bit bigger. So it just kind of made me bring all I had a little bit more and start taking the sport a little bit more serious and a little bit specializing a little bit. Like that's where I, you know, up to grade 9 and 10, I played basketball and track and other sports. And I was always playing all other sports. So that was the first time that my coach also came up to me and said, hey, like, you know, I really think there's something here. Like you should probably, if you want to keep playing all the other sports, cool. But if you really want to give this a serious shot, it can take you very far. You can get a scholarship. It can take you. I really think you could make a Canadian team. You could be an Olympian. And those are the beliefs and the encouragements that you want to hear when you're younger, right? Especially because you don't know a whole lot. So I really like, you know, give a lot of props to my coaches that I had. So, you know, that those early years, it's just a learning experience. It's just wetting your feet. That's, you know, like, it's just showing up, going through drills and stuff. So, and obviously the competition in Ontario was very tough, very fierce. My class was, man, it was hard. Like I finished like 3rd, like my senior year, grade 12 year in the 1500 meters, and the winners were like running 346, 345. You know, so that when you go up against that kind of competition, it sharpens you, it makes you better. So yeah, it's about just dreaming big and trying to do the best that you can with that, and then also learning and seeing it as a learning experience. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So in fact, you accomplished, I mean, everything you set out to do. Incrementally, of course, you went on to compete at the NCAA level, going to the University of Wisconsin. And one of our attendees wants to know what that experience was like running at the NCAA level and how that prepared you for what came next.
Yeah. You know, Wisconsin was, you know, one of these schools, it's one of the, in terms of distance running, it's one of the premier distance running schools, right? So when I visited the university, I remember like going into the locker room and there was like a sheet on the locker room in one of the walls, and I looked up at it and it was like the record for the school list. And I was like, whoa, like these are some fast times, you know? And you know, at this point, you know, I'm a little bit more knowledgeable of sport. There's aspirations and dreams of wanting to go to the Olympics and trying to run certain times and all this stuff. And, you know, going to Wisconsin and seeing these times, it's like, oh man, like you can come here and you can chase these greats, you know, and whether they're here or not, you know, you can at least chase their the ghost, you know, their and see if you can get close. And I was really, really motivated by that, and just kind of you know, carrying that torch, the Badger torch. And it was a great experience. You know, if you were to ask me at the beginning of my collegiate career what my goals were, well, it was a lot of the things that I accomplished, but the number one thing that I believed wholeheartedly that I could accomplish was winning an NCAA title. I was like, if you were to ask me, oh, are you going to win an NCAA title? I was like, yeah, that's not even a question. I'm going to try and win several. And when my collegiate career ended, I had zero NCAA titles. So that kind of just spoke to the level of competition That was at the NCAA. And, you know, it wasn't like I wasn't trying to win. I was trying to win. I was giving effort, but still, it was a little bit of a learning experience. And I would say the best part of my collegiate career was just the team atmosphere. In high school, I didn't have a team. I traveled as to meet as an individual for my high school. I would always try and qualify as an individual. So it was all individual. And when I went to Wisconsin, like one of the aspects that drew me into Wisconsin was the team, right? And I had a great team experience, like cross country, like I won an NCAA title with them. And that was huge. Like I would say that ranks like top 3 accomplishments in my career. Like, you know, right up there with, you know, my 2 medals, my 2 global medals. And it's just a journey, you know, like of just doing something not for yourself, but for others as well. And it was just a great experience for me. And but it was also challenging because the competition is very stiff. You know, you're not running against your age group. You're running against guys that are 3 to 4 years older than you. And also you have to take into consideration the maturity that you are going through in terms of experience, in terms of biological, you know, like I was very, very small guy. And I was still like growing into my body. So even though I was going out there and doing all these types of workouts and, you know, hard workouts and splits and stuff like that, I still needed, like, my body wasn't absorbing all that, you know, and I needed to give it 1 year or 2 years and 3 years. And it just, I don't know, I think it definitely taught me how to compete. And it was just it's just another level. Like high school was tough. I leveled up through university. It was tough, you know, at the beginning, and I leveled up and, you know, I was like top 3, top 4, and just going through that. And I think it was just a developmental, another level of developing. And I felt like it set me up for for my professional career because in Wisconsin, the coach, like Mick Byrne, my coach, who's still the coach there, like me and him had like a really good relationship in that we can have a conversation. He didn't really over race me. I think every single year, like, you know, I would do like 3 to 4 cross country races. I would do, you know, 3 to 4 indoor races. And then I would do probably about that, you know what I'm saying, for the outdoor season. And which is, you know, that's kind of like pretty much what I'm doing now as a professional. Like the workload, he would always keep it simple. He would always keep it, keep it in check, you know, and really put it in perspective of, hey, you're still developing, you're still young. And he didn't really double me all that much, especially in my earlier years when I was still learning and still pretty young. And I don't know, like, I felt like, you know, I came into the professional scene like a little fresh for sure. Haven't done some good developmental training, the best that I could, you know, however much my body can absorb, but not also like, you know, squeezing every ounce of my ability that I had during for the University of Wisconsin, you know. And Mick would always say that to me. He'd say, hey, like, I'm not training you to win an NCAA title. Like, you can probably do that just off of talent or whatever. Like, I'm not going to train you for that. Like, I'll, you know, but he would train me a bit, but like, he's like, I'm not focusing completely on that. I want to develop you so that you can have something left for a longer professional career. And I don't know, I think I didn't accomplish all the things that I wanted to in Wisconsin, but that just kind of made me, you know, look to things as a professional to accomplish and make up for some of the lost opportunities on the professional scene.
Some really good advice there, Mo, for anyone who's in high school and maybe looking to join either a Canadian or an American program at the university level, and some things to really look for in terms of long-term development. I mean, there's a reason it sounds like that you've continued with the sport for so long. You're, again, a 3-time Olympian. We've got a bunch more questions. It's going to be hard to get through all of these. And maybe what I'll encourage is that some of our attendees can reach out to Mo on social media or reach out through different channels. And I know that Mo, you've been such a great role model in interacting with our community there as well. So maybe after we're done this conversation, if you don't mind dropping in the best way to reach you through your social channels would be great. But just as we wrap up here, I think one of the most poignant things that I've noticed about your career was watching the sheer devastation that you exhibited coming fourth in Rio in the 5,000 meter, because everyone knew how hard you'd worked for that and how badly you wanted it. And then at the next Olympics, 5 years later, you turn around and you win a silver medal in that same event. And so, maybe just by way of wrapping up, and Sahid Khan, one of our coaches, had put this out here, what is the best advice you could share with the young athletes in attendance, keeping in mind that you've had an incredible career, but you've had your shares of ups and downs too. What are some final words of inspiration you could leave our athletes with?
Yeah, I would say, it might sound like a cliche, but losing is where you learn the most, like in losing effort, in failure, the moments that you feel like you failed, or, that's a growing moment that you need. And for me, Rio coming in fourth, I had made 2012 and I told myself that I was going to make 2012 Olympics when I was in high school. Right when I left high school, graduated from high school, I had all the dreams. And at that point I was like, man, I graduated in 2009 in high school. And I'm like, in 3 years time, I'm freaking making that team. I don't care what anybody says, I'm making it. So I dedicated myself to that. And I made that Olympic team. And 2012 was just just the awe, the spectacle that the Olympics are, the experience, that moment, I already had it, at 21 years old. And so the next thing was, my next Olympics, I knew the next thing was, it's not just being happy to be there. It was, okay, I want to do something. And, everything came so quick because I had turned professional in 2015, joined Bowerman Track Club. I was a world finalist in the 5,000 meters, but the next year in 2016, sometime in May, which is 2 to 3 months before the Olympics, I do one of these Diamond League races. I come third, I run 13:01. I'm like, oh shit, I could maybe medal. And just the way that I was doing the things that I was doing in practice, it was insane. It was I just leveled up, and I believed that I could medal, but I lacked the experience, right? How do you channel people's expectations? How do you of being a potential medalist? When you hear these words, if you're not prepared to take that in and imbibe it in a proper way and channel it in a proper way, your emotions are gonna be, that's a high, you know what I'm saying? That's a high in itself. The fact that you're very young and inexperienced, that in itself is essentially getting the medal done, is people saying, oh man, I think you can medal, So I just didn't know how to handle that whole moment. And I remember my coach saying, man, you're turbo fit. I think you can medal. And I honestly did not know how to handle that. I'm I wanted to do it, but I lacked the experience. Right. So 2016, you run that race several times, 10 times, maybe two to three times I'm on the podium. And then the rest, I'm probably not, because I know I lack the experience, right? And I just didn't know how to win. And for me, 2016 was very difficult, but I really truly needed it because it made me just an incredible athlete, a better athlete. It made me more inquisitive, made me look for how to get better, ask proper questions, learn how to believe in myself, how to be a bit of a savage, how to like take the dog, inside me out, so the next 5 years, like those are the things that I was looking at. I was trying to bring my competitiveness in me and learning all the little things that I was missing. Because 2017, I was 6th, at the World Championship. So I really didn't improve all that much in terms of positioning, even though I learned a little bit of experience and knowledge. And I don't know, I think I would just say, like, sometimes you're dreaming big about something and you wanted to accomplish something, but what you have to understand is you gotta enjoy the journey and the process. And sometimes you may be able to do it in terms of, you might have like an incredible performance in your body that year, but you may not be able to do it that year. You might be able to do it a year after that or 2 years after that. You just have to be patient. All right. And yeah, I don't know. For me, like my career, if you just look at my career, it's just been incremental improvements, a little bit, years of just like pretty much running about the same time, and then boom, another big breakthrough, and then running about the same, and then another big breakthrough. And so you look at yeah, I don't know, like you look at like how I PB, like 2015 or 2014, I was 13-18, right? I probably, in terms of fitness and the type of workouts that I was doing, I probably could have run like 13-10, 13-12, I felt like in 2014, but didn't get the chance to do it. The next year I ran 13-10, 2015, and to be honest, like the way that the workouts were going, and if I had a great race, I probably could run like a 13:02, 13:03, right around that. So, I didn't get to do that in 2015. The next year I ran 13:01, and then the next 2 to 3 years, like I felt like I was in like 12:55-ish shape, and I didn't get to do that until 2 years later, or, 2019. So you got to go through the little barriers and build up the nerve to tackle such a daunting task. And sometimes, you can go up there and move the mountain right away. And sometimes you might need 5, 6, 7, 8 attempts at it. And you just got to be patient with that. So, yeah.
Great words of wisdom. So much in there, Mo. Thanks so much for sharing. We're going to go through a few rapid fire questions.
Sounds
So
good.
if you could answer these in like a couple words or a couple sentences, we're just going to go through a few quick ones. So Andrew Coles wants to know, best workout you've ever done.
Best workout. I would say the one that I was like, oh man, that was a great workout. 2016, me and Evan Jager did right before the Olympics in Rio. We were in Park City, Utah. Or actually we went down to Salt Lake City at the University of Utah, and it was like 3 to 4, 200 meters just to warm up, like 26, 27. And then we did a 1200 meter like time trial type thing. And I think I ran like 250, 251 around there. Took like, I don't know, like 10 minutes or something like that. And then came back with the 600 meters in like 120, something like that. And then like took another 4 or 5 minutes, something like that. And then did like, I don't know, like 100 in like 12 seconds, something like that. So, and it's not like, the things at the end, it's like the meat of it that I was like very proud of is like, the 1200 and 250, 251, and then coming back and running, 120, like, yeah, I would say that's probably one of my best workouts. Yeah.
And that's at altitude, just for those who need some context as well. That's not even at sea level. Okay, Jeanette Gaffney wants to know, favorite shoe and favorite spike.
My favorite spikes. I definitely love the Nike Pegasus. I've just been running on that for everyday running shoes. And then the best bike, my favorite ones. I mean, the Dragonflies are really, really nice. But I don't know, I really liked the Victory One Shanks, they're called. And those were aggressive, and yeah, I accomplished a lot with those in 2016 and 17 and stuff. So yeah, those were one of my favorites. Yeah.
Cool. Do you still get nervous at big meets? And if so, what is, in maybe 20 words or less, like one thing you can do to beat the nerves?
Yes, I do. If I'm not nervous before a race, especially big races, something is wrong. And that's what I always tell myself. And what I always say is, it's, the nervousness is just me turning the engine on in the car, turning the ignition on, and it's my body preparing to race. So that's just how it's just part of the process. Yeah.
Awesome. Two more. So one, what was your favorite track memory? And let's narrow that down to, what's your favorite memory of racing? Like what was the event and what was the race?
One of my favorites, I mean, also 2007 cross country, in my hometown, Niagara Falls, like that really made me who I am, to be honest. It was like my first OFSA win. It was in my hometown. My coaches designed the course. I ran on that course every single day for 2 years. I knew I was like, 2 years before that, I said to myself, I'm winning it, and I won it. And it was just like, you got to be freaking kidding me. So I would say, like, that's probably one of my favorite memories. Yeah.
Awesome. And our final question from Sharon Stewart: where are you planning to do training in the new year? Are you going anywhere warm? Where are the training venues going to happen in the new year?
It looks like some altitude training is coming up sometime in January and February. And Sharon Stewart is my high school coach, one of my high school coaches, Niagara Olympic Club. Yeah, I'm saying hello to her. Yeah, so altitude in the new year, January, February, and then hopefully maybe some indoor races, and yeah, figuring out some things, some details of things, some racing and racing schedule, stuff like that. But like, looks like altitude training coming up.
Awesome. Well, Mo, we wish you the absolute best of luck at all of those training camps and all of the upcoming competitions. It's a huge year. There's pretty much every international event in the world this year. So we know that we'll see you out on those start lines again. But thank you so much for sharing your insights with us. Congratulations on your induction into the All-Ontarian list this year as well. I'm not sure if you were with us earlier for that piece, but you're on that list along with several of our other athletes. And we just really appreciate the time you spent. Congratulations again on all of your accomplishments.
No worries. Yep. Take care. And, yeah, good luck to all the kids, and yeah, keep believing in yourself, and keep believing in your coaches and your training, and, stay the course. I know the pandemic it's with us. COVID is with us, and it's something that we're gonna keep dealing with. And, you got to be patient with it, and, do your due diligence and do the best that you can, but stay with it. Enjoy the process, keep dreaming, and have fun. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Mo. And maybe we'll just ask Mo if he could pop some of his social channels into the chat, so that if anyone wants to follow him on social media and interact with him that way, that'd be great. Mo, thanks again. That's awesome.
Yep. Awesome. Yep. I'll do that. I'll do that right now. Yep.
Perfect. Thanks.
Bye. Bye.
So again, thank you all for joining us tonight. Again, a bit odd in that it's been a virtual session, but we've loved having you all. We loved all the interaction that was happening through that chat function and the Q&A. Thank you so much for interacting with us there. We're about to wrap up, but just before we do, of course, we have that order of business that we've been doing our call to action for all night, and that is to announce the winner of the raffle draw, and a reminder that the winner will take home an AO swag bag featuring a AO branded Nike tracksuit, a Nike backpack, an AO t-shirt, an AO branded water bottle, and a foam roller. And I know that it would be a conflict of interest for me to be in this, but man, would I like to win that. Anyway, we're going to do the spin, so I'll hand it over to Paul for that.
Okay, great. Thanks, Kate. And let me just share my screen. Change it over. You guys can all see the wheel? Yes, we're good, Kate? Wonderful. So everybody's names have now been entered in the draw, and we're just going to spin it and see who wins. Okay, so Caleb Dingman is the winner, and we will follow up with you and connect with you to let you know how we'll be able to get your tonight's draw prize to you. So thank you very much for participating. And now back to you, Kate.
Thanks, Paul, and congrats to Caleb. This has been such a fantastic evening, everyone. Thank you all so much for coming out and helping us to celebrate another fantastic year. As you know, we're really so proud of all of your incredible accomplishments, and we wouldn't have anything to celebrate if it weren't for all of your outstanding achievements. So on behalf of Athletics Ontario, we'd like to give a very special thanks to our awards and Hall of Fame committees, our volunteers, our amazing guest speakers, our sponsors, and for all of you for giving us so much to celebrate. We hope that you enjoyed the evening, and just a reminder that we're doing the second half of this event tomorrow night. And there will be another raffle, there will be more guest speakers, there will be all kinds of excitement tomorrow evening as well. It will be a lot of new information, and we hope that you are able to attend. So if you registered for tonight's event, unfortunately, that does not automatically register you for tomorrow. So please visit our website and sign up for free, just as you did tonight, for tomorrow's night 2 of our event, our awards gala. Again, we'll drop that link into the chat function. And so if you haven't registered yet, or if you know someone who would like to attend, but they don't necessarily know how to do so, please pass along that information to them as well. We want to thank everyone again for coming out. Hopefully we'll be able to see you in person again soon, but until then, we'll see you tomorrow evening. Thanks again for attending night 1 of our AO Awards Banquet.